Well, I went to the San Francisco Art Institute in the 1980s. The program that I was involved in was the first performance video degree program in the country. My work was really more aligned with what was going on in the 80s, for instance. Pretty aggressive, pretty raw kind of work that was really about my body in particular situations. So my work began to change, obviously, and began to be more aligned with postmodern art practices, media-based art practices, issues of content, first-person narrative, personal histories, things like that. Simultaneously, I had become interested in dance and had been taking some dance classes and working with choreographers in different ways. So I began to sort of bring that into the work I was doing at the Art Institute also. So I came into dance not through dance, but through the visual arts, through my interest in how people were collaborating with dance. It looked really interesting to me. It seemed really exciting. So I find collaboration creates a kind of synergy that often is hard to achieve when one is working as a sort of solo individual artist, you know, in a sort of closed system. Collaboration opens up a set of possibilities that may not exist otherwise. A lot of my work centers around bodies in motion, often called dance video, video dance, cine-dance. Mid-90s, I worked on a project called Singing Myself a Lullaby with a choreographer out in San Francisco who was in his final stages of AIDS, which was a big change for me. It was a very moving experience to work with someone who was that close to and that engaged with their own death. And that led into working in that way for a while, working with medical trauma, working with issues around death and dying. Under the Skin is a project that in many ways relates to or builds off of the work that I had done with Chow Ping over the years, in particular a piece called Venus Flow, States of Grace. In this project, Under the Skin, we have worked with a group of cancer survivors and others who are encouraged to sort of amplify their personal narratives and their personal histories around the medical traumas that they have undergone. More recently, the installations I've been doing have been much more sort of ephemeral. And that has to do with where I live now, here in the Midwest, the land that I actually live on, where my home and my studio is, and becoming really sort of connected in a way to the landscape, to the seasons, to the space that I occupy here both as a citizen and as an artist. And a lot of what I've been doing in the last few years is really paying attention to the seasons and to the changes that the landscape goes through, and to the sort of the flow of life that happens out in the country. You know, in the era that we're living in right now, everything's up for discussion. It's a different time, it's a different world. Certainly there's art galleries and there's artists in museums, and there's, you know, the sort of historically proven way of being in the art world. There's also a lot of other possibilities for being in a world that is also contextualized within an art context.